Hello and welcome to the Rhythm Changes podcast. I am your host, Chris Fraser. Today's episode features a returning guest, Vancouver trumpet player Ben Frost. He originally talked with Will on this podcast following the release of his debut record, Pixies. So make sure to take a listen to that one as well. And I guess the album itself, of course. Ben's one of my closest friends, and I was convinced maybe this episode would be a bad idea because we wouldn't be able to keep things serious or even listenable, but I think we proved that notion at least somewhat wrong. We talk about some upcoming gigs we'll be playing together, which I'll reiterate later. Bad gigs we've played, bad audiences we've played to, good audiences, and we also get pretty deep about composition. It's a great conversation, so I hope you enjoy it. Today's guest is a trumpeter, composer, and has been a good friend of mine for many years now. We'll be playing a couple shows together in the next month or so, which I'm looking forward to. It's Ben Frost, friend of the show. Welcome back.
Hello. Thanks for having me on the podcast, Chris.
Thanks for agreeing to be on the podcast about 65 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's so nice to meet you for the first time.
Yeah. We met at the Heroes Welcome Jam.
Yeah, we didn't play together.
No,
but I just loved your sound.
Yeah. What was it about my sound you loved?
It really struck true.
Yeah.
The pure.
It did.
It did. This bit.
Come on.
I don't like this bit anymore.
Finish it off.
This is supposed to be about me, not you and your guitar sound.
You made the comment. All right. Well. Yeah, no, thanks for coming on the pod last minute. You're my first guest who brought his own dinner, which I think already makes you a really special guest. You brought some salmon and broccoli.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't bring any for you, actually.
Yeah, that's okay.
Next time.
Yeah.
I'll come back next week and then...
Yeah, we'll redo the whole thing over next week.
Sweet. Sounds good.
This is going to be such a good episode.
Yeah.
So we're playing together. We're gonna play Is That French? We're gonna play some duo.
Mm-hmm. March 27th.
What do you think of Is That French as a venue? We've played it once before, I think. Once or twice?
I think it's good. I think as far as the kind of casual restaurant gig goes, you get $100 in hand and some delicious food and a couple drinks, and
really, really good food.
I feel like that's more than a lot of places can tout. Just
I know.
$100.
I would
cash.
say I say this every time. I think it's my favorite gig right now.
I will say though,
please,
that it's not the most wonderful place to play because you're in a concrete cube, and
whatever. Yeah, I mean that's half of the venues in town. You take what you can get, you know.
I guess so. Yeah,
like,
it is kind of a weird crowd to play to too. Like no one's really like when especially playing the trumpet.
Mm-hmm. Trumpet's tough, man.
I'm just there beside these like kind of basic like Yaletown.
Yeah,
bar goers. Like,
lots of people on there clearly on a first date.
Sure,
like it's obviously like a big first date place.
It's the kind of place you take somebody to try and impress them with your knowledge of local, eateries and.
And wine, natural wines, seafood.
So
tapas.
I will say I don't particularly enjoy playing the trumpet there to the people who are there.
I mean,
unfortunately, but it kind of is what it is.
It's I think for the most part, like people aren't necessarily listening, but I've also developed a taste for certain gigs that have that vibe. Like a gig where people aren't really listening, I think has its place. Because like obviously like if they're not paying attention, then stakes are low. And when stakes are low, you can take more chances. So I've actually like played some pretty crazy stuff in that room. And also because it's always a duo gig. There's fewer boundaries. And so like I don't know, like I feel like I've actually been able to do like a lot of stretching on songs with people in that room compared to playing in a venue where it's just sort of like a standard like drum and bass and stage and everyone's listening kind of thing. And obviously I love playing where people are listening. But
yeah, it is nice.
It's nice to have someone paying attention. But
I feel you though. It also offers like a different avenue of repertoire that you might, like for instance, in these other two things that we will probably plug that we're playing together in.
Yeah.
You know, I'm probably not going to play my ideal.
Yeah.
You know, given the space and like the vibe of that kind of show.
Yeah.
But
do you want to talk about that one with Carl?
Sure, yeah.
So I don't know Carl Silvera. Can you tell me about Carl Silvera? You're sort of introducing him to our scene here.
Yeah. Great. Imagine if he just like showed up to this podcast. Big surprise. Oof. Wow.
Yeah.
Here's Carl. I could not do an impression of him. And it wouldn't be funny because you don't know him. Carl is a...
You could do any voice right now, and I would just have to believe you.
Carl is a really excellent... not even excellent, like... he's just so good at the trombone.
Okay, but he's not even excellent.
Not even excellent.
He's beyond excellent.
I couldn't think of a better word.
He's really good.
He's superior.
Yeah.
He's a Yamaha artist.
Oh yeah.
They don't just throw those around, I hear.
And so they send you a motorcycle when you get that deal?
That's right. You get yeah, and every year you get access to a different motor vehicle. So like,
yeah. So another year it'll be like a Ski-Doo.
Yeah, after a few years you get one of those like kind of quad things that they have on farms. Like
yeah.
Anyway, Carl plays the trombone so good.
Yeah.
And I knew him from Toronto. We did our masters together at U of T. So we spent a lot of time there making music and considering music, thinking about it.
Oh, that's a big part of being a musician.
Well,
it
is when you're in a master's program.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway,
is that sort of like the central thing about getting a master's? Is like how good can you think about music, and then you just prove it. It's like this is how good I can think about music.
I think that's a whole other thing. Let me finish talking about Carl.
Sorry.
So we've covered he's very good. We met in Toronto. He's coming to Vancouver, and we're going to play at Tyrant Studios with a very good band. It's April 18th, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, his music is really interesting. It's very modern.
It's super, like modern contemporary post-bop kind of.
It's really thoughtful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, like care put into these like intricate rhythms and melodies. So yeah, I would recommend checking it out. Let me find what his album is called.
We can link the album.
Okay, great. Yeah.
I was listening to it because you asked me to join in the group while he's here, which is always a pleasure to play with someone who's coming in from out of town. I'm really looking forward to playing his music because it sounds up my alley, but it also sounds very challenging, but in a way that I'm really excited to tackle.
Yeah, something you get to dig your teeth into.
And it's a really cool thing when you hear someone's composition and like the way that someone writes music, and you think like, oh, we're gonna get along.
Sure, yeah,
right. I have that feeling. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll hit each other.
You'll get along with Carl.
Yeah. But we'll find out for sure on the 18th of April when we play.
Yeah.
But is that, do you feel like there's anything about the way that he writes that, like, where he got that from, or have you been able to see his writing change over the years? Did you get to know each other like right at the beginning of your tenure at U of T? Was he always writing, or is writing a new thing for him?
Yeah, he was. I mean, yeah, for sure, he was writing music before that. I think this is his first album as a leader, which is
Cool.
kind of wild because he's a bit older than. Maybe he's your age, a bit older than me.
Yep.
But is like a resident of the Toronto jazz scene, like for sure. Has his place there. So it's kind of surprising to me that this was his first album. Anyway, yeah, he's been writing music.
Yeah.
I definitely know some of the places that he gets his stuff from. And I would say that I saw that kind of like develop while we were at school together into like this new thing. I think. Yeah, I don't know what else I can say about that. I know Monk is a huge one
Cool.
for him. Like, these kind of...
Have you played each other's music before?
In class.
Yeah.
Not in this kind of context. Which
Nice.
is cool.
Yeah.
Maybe surprising that it's taken
Yeah.
5 years or whatever.
Does he normally have a trumpet player in his groups?
Not that I know of.
Cool.
I think it's usually quartet or...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. He seems like a great player, and if he's got the Ben Frost seal of approval, which you don't give away very easily, you're very stingy with your seal.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Don't just give your seal... Don't give your seal away.
Don't just give your seal away.
That's a valuable thing.
Yeah. No, but seriously, that's going to be a fun show. I love playing at Tyrant too. Tyrant's the opposite of a noisy room for the most part, unless like the music demands noisiness. Tyrant is such a nice place to play if you have music that requires a low noise floor, which I've come to appreciate over the years. Yeah. So
low noise floor, but it's also very casual.
Yeah.
It's not like a concert hall.
Yeah. That's, yeah. So like, and at least as far as like when you know that that's going to be the deal at the venue, then that's great. And the other way around too, right? Like that's why I don't mind the noise at a place like Is That French, because I know people are there for dinner, and it's more or less a background gig, and so I don't mind that because I just go in with that expectation, and it works for me. But whenever the expectation isn't met, right? You're expecting a quiet room and it ends up being a noisy room. That could be really annoying. But have you ever had a situation
the opposite?
Inversed?
I was just gonna say, imagine we play Is That French, and all of the listeners of this podcast book out the room.
Yeah.
And are attentively waiting for us to have prepared material.
That happened to me once.
Oh yeah.
That happened to me once. I was playing a duo gig with Carmen J. Price, a Vancouver vocalist. And
I'm aware.
Sorry?
I'm aware.
Yeah, well, we got listeners,
Okay,
Ben.
right, sorry.
I know we're not just hanging out. Can you imagine if I said that if we were just by ourselves?
Yeah. I was playing with Carmen J. Price. You
Vancouver
know the
vocalist.
Vancouver vocalist.
You know Ben? Yeah?
Yeah, I do. And I have to prove that I know. Yeah, one time we met.
Yeah?
I actually don't know Carmen very well, but we did meet. So there you go.
Carmen has a day job. Do you know what he does? He's a librarian. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
He's a librarian. Yeah. He
That's
works at
true?
VPL. Yeah.
That's very cool.
It's actually really cool. Yeah. Anyway. I knew this was going to be a good episode.
Yeah,
okay. So
we're
I'm
gonna
playing
do
with
that bit
Carmen.
with every musician in Vancouver.
Totally. So I'm playing with Carmen. He asks me to play duo with him at Bishop's Restaurant in Kitsilano.
Okay.
Fancy restaurant. And I must have misunderstood what this was going to be. But I think maybe he was a little bit caught off guard by it too. But I think it's mostly me like not totally understanding the situation, because I had understood that it was going to be like a background gig, but it was an event for the Vancouver Chamber Choir, of which Carmen is or was a member at the time. And so they were having a dinner there. They had booked out the restaurant. And when we got there, it was dinner service. Like, people were talking and amongst themselves. And Carmen and I set up in our spot kind of in the middle of the restaurant. I don't know if you'd ever been to Bishop's, but it was like I think they might have closed. during
No,
COVID.
I don't know this place.
Anyway, it's like an old restaurant. And it's kind of a narrow room that has like a set of stairs in the middle of it. I don't think you can seat very many people in there. It's probably like no more than 60 people. And we kind of got set up in the middle of the room. And I was just ready to play, a couple sets, or actually it was just supposed to be one set of background music for like 45 minutes. And we set up and everything. I have my amp set up and everything. We're about to start playing, and then someone takes the mic from Carmen and introduces us, and says introduces us as an act that everyone's going to listen to now.
Yeah.
And the room quiets down, and you could hear a pin drop in there. And Carmen and I had never done a duo gig with Carmen. He's a brilliant musician, vocalist. So things went well, but like it was it was really surprising to go from expecting restaurant gig background stuff to essentially a recital level of silence. And we're just calling tunes. We just called tunes. And it's also funny to do that in front of like classical music folk.
Sure.
And just say, like, you want to do like If I Were a Bell? Sure. Okay. And just sort of call that. But I didn't feel like anyone was being judgmental towards us. But that's the one situation where the opposite happened, where I was expecting a noisy room and the opposite happened. So yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, though, like knowing you and not that I actually know Carmen that well, but
Right.
I also know that he's a talented, great musician. I mean, I guess like I imagine maybe it really didn't have a whole lot of difference for you. I'm curious because I know you're a person who cares about your craft, and I imagine even your preparedness to call some tunes to play in the background was probably equivalent to your preparedness to like do a similar type of music for a listening audience.
Yeah, but obviously the vibe changes, and the like what I was saying about steaks. I feel like that always ends up like playing a part. Or
Right,
like
how many steaks you get at the end of the...
Yeah, like a porterhouse, a baseball. They'll throw whatever in at the end of the gig. No, we're not. This is such a horrible idea. No, I mean the stakes of the gig I was talking about is that French being low stakes. And
Right,
so
low
from
stakes 'cause
it
they kinda
becoming
do
a
like
low
a-
stakes situation into a high stakes situation, And I'm not talking ribeye, okay?
Right. That French is kind of low stakes because like they do.
It's mostly seafood.
It's mostly appetizers. Mostly appetizers. A
I'm
low
so
amount
sorry,
of
Will.
stakes. The food is really good there, though.
Is that French?
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to keep talking about is that French?
No, I just feel bad that I said I don't like playing.
You want to take you want to run that back?
I mean, I don't know. We can move on.
You can have hot takes on this podcast, man. Like there's there's dozens of people who listen to this podcast.
Okay, well, we'll see where this goes.
Well, I mean, yeah, like obviously, like your preparedness will be. There's nothing that changes about your preparedness, but this kind of reminds me of a conversation I was having with Jacob Wutzke.
Okay.
On this podcast,
right,
where I was asking him about nerves or about because he's leading a group on his new album, and I was saying to him that whenever I'm a sideman, I feel super cool,
sure,
and whenever I'm leading a group, I can get really, really nervous and like completely be in my head the entire time that I'm playing.
Yeah,
and like the pro that he is, he's like the best way to combat nerves is just to be prepared.
just be good.
Be good. And I'm like, well, I can't fight you on that one,
He's
Jacob.
got that Mamba mentality.
He does. He's a killer. He just moved to New York. He just moved to New York. Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, that news broke on the pod.
Well, I wish I had some earth-shattering news for you.
Come on, man. Come on.
I'm sorry.
No. But I mean, you've probably found like what do you get more? Do you get more nervous when you're leading a band?
I mean, I usually only get gigs when I'm leading the band, so it's hard to.
That's not true.
I guess I'm playing with you.
You're playing with me. We're going to play with Carl.
I'm kind of leading that band.
Okay, fine. Do you feel nervous?
Do I feel nervous? Yeah, sure. Yeah. I get it though. Like I totally get it. Yeah, I don't know. There's something a lot easier about just being able to show up and kind of do your part than like having to. Your mind is just in so many different places when you're leading the band. You have to consider the music that you're playing. You have to consider like trying to direct your musicians that you've selected to play the music in some way, and you have to consider
just like being responsible for how it goes, for how the show goes, how the music is played, how the band feels after, before, during, and after the show.
Yeah,
I feel like all those things are on me as a band leader, and so that kind of thing also comes into play, right? I mean, like, we're not naming names on this podcast, but
we've named so many names already.
We're not naming any names. No one has been mentioned.
Yeah, go on.
But you and I have played gigs together as sidemen.
That's true.
On gigs, where the best part of the gig was after the gig ended, and we were able to talk about how bad the gig was. Right,
sure.
And that's an important part of the experience too. But that's up to that artist, whom we may or may not have played for, to deal with, right?
Yeah.
And whenever I do play a bad gig, I mean, this would be a great episode to talk about bad gigs, actually. But
right, you're inferring every gig I've ever played is bad. That's what you're saying about Ben.
Is that what I'm saying?
Yeah, this is a great episode to talk about bad gigs.
I think you're Ben inferring. I didn't imply anything. Anyway,
keep going.
But I think I wonder about like, because I guess to me, I feel like if I hosted a gig, I'm leading a band, and something doesn't go right, something is done poorly on my end, or just like someone didn't have a good time, or something doesn't go to plan, and someone is left holding the bag, or anything like that.
Yeah.
I would want to know about it afterwards, right?
Mm.
I would want to know if there is a way that I could have done something better, or if there's a way that I could. But I mean, I'm saying that on the podcast. Like maybe in the moment, like I'm not going to want to know about that, or I want to be able to like pretend that anything that went bad like didn't happen.
Sure.
But like when you play a bad gig, are you ever like actually tempted to say something about it? I know I have been.
I am so conflict averse, Chris, that I would never.
Right. Well, and there's an element of self-preservation in there too, right? Because like a gig's a gig at the end of the day.
I guess maybe not never. It depends on the person. It depends on what it is.
Okay.
Like for instance, if you hired me to play,
Yeah.
and the foul in question is that you like didn't pay me the amount of money that you said you would,
That would be.
I would probably say something. I would probably inquire about that.
That's fair, yeah. But there's less tangible things that could happen, right? Like
if it's more to do with like the music.
I give you a chart that's in the wrong key, maybe.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about.
No one will know.
No names. No names.
We're really not naming names this time.
But yeah, I mean, I think, again, it depends. If it was something quite like very unprofessional and it's my friend like you, I'd probably make some kind of remark about it.
Yeah.
If it's like, if you hire me for the gig and then like we all just like sound bad or something like that, I'm not going to talk about that. Like,
yeah.
Not that we would sound bad, but you know what I mean. If it's like more a matter of artistry, then I probably won't bring that up.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, of course. Yeah. Like if you don't like the music I wrote you, like I wouldn't expect you to like say anything necessarily, unless you wanted. Like I don't know what you would get out of that. Like, I guess you could really just tell me what you think about my music, and that's like your own thing. But I mean like. Because that's happened to me where I play a gig that I feel like was maybe there was something that could have been handled better, and I stew about it, and I talk smack about it with my friends.
Yeah.
And part of me wants to send a strongly worded email
to this person, but then also like what comes of that?
Exactly. Like. And that's basically the calculus that ends up happening. There's like a cost-benefit analysis where it's like, I get to feel like I'm better than this person. But I guess maybe there's a chance that, maybe I'll be able to tell whoever this is that they did this and this and this wrong, and it inconvenienced me on the bandstand, or it made me look like an amateur or whatever, and I didn't appreciate that. And you should fix these things so that the next guy doesn't look as bad as I did, or as I perceived that I looked. And basically the calculus ends up being like, this person's been able to do whatever they're doing the way that they do it, and why all they did was hire me for a night or two, and so like why should they care what I think if they have like a system that works?
Yeah, exactly. And also this is somebody that you don't personally really have any investment in.
Yeah.
As an artist.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. But even if I did, like, because I guess we're talking about someone that I don't know well. Yeah. Like, so if it's like someone that I knew well,
Yeah, if it's me, then you care about
then
me. and you want to, like,
I would say something to you for sure. If you were to like, I wouldn't hesitate to say something to you if I was like offended by something that you did on a gig.
I would expect that because I hold myself to a certain level of professionalism.
Yeah, and also like just you are known as like a really good copyist. So like if we're talking about like the way that the music looks, that I don't think that would be an issue. I think maybe I don't know. I'm not going to come up with reasons why you would do a bad job leading a gig. I guess we'll wait a month and see how the Tyrant show goes, and then I'll have a strongly worded email for you.
I had one funny gig in Toronto related to music being prepared for you and or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I was subbing
and or not.
I was subbing into this kind of like brass band, and they gave me the details of where to go and blah 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 blah. And then they gave me this gigantic book of music.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, wow, that's
how gigantic. How many charts are we talking?
I feel like
50?
I could give you a gross exaggeration. It might be. I feel like it was more than, it was maybe close to like 100 different.
Yeah, nice.
You know, like pop songs. Like I remember playing some Drake song.
Okay, yeah.
In like brass band style.
Yeah.
And what wasn't explicit in the email is that I was meant to know all of this music.
Yeah.
Like know it.
Yeah.
So I like I printed out like a bunch of there was a set list, but the book was really big. So I printed all this out and I I played it and I knew the songs and whatever. And but I didn't really know the music. I do admit that this is a bit on me as being not the most consummate professional. You know, like maybe if I was the consummate professional, I would have just known the music. And
we could all be a bit more consummate.
Yeah.
In our professionalism.
Yeah. Anyway, so we show up and to make this rambling story a little bit shorter, all of the music that we played wasn't like the music that was listed in the email that I got.
Okay.
And we were meant to have this music memorized.
Right.
So I didn't know any of the songs that we were playing.
Oh no.
And I just had to
just none of it was in the book that you were given?
It was in the book that I was given, but not in the set list that I was given.
Oh, I see.
So I printed out all this music thinking that we're I mean, I guess that's kind of dumb of me. I don't know.
Okay, so you have a book of several hundred tunes.
Yeah.
Into the thousands.
Yeah.
And they give you a set list.
Tens of thousands.
Yeah,
they give me a set list.
But it ends up being just whatever tunes from this book anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do they expect from you?
And what was weird, it was like a Hockey Canada event. So Wayne Gretzky was there.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
I hacked my way through Drake songs in front of Wayne Gretzky.
Man.
That was a bad gig. That was more bad on my part. I feel like I could have...
I mean, I feel like the expectation on you is pretty high. Like, how much time did you have?
I don't remember.
Okay. And this was kind of a subbing gig?
Yeah.
Your sub. Like what? It's I think it's a little bit different, like where, you know, if you're given a book of like a huge library of tunes that you need to know. I mean, it's not really reasonable to ask somebody to learn music, especially if it's not on a given set list. I think that's true. That's true. You know what? I
feel better about it.
I think you're being a little tough on yourself about this. I that's definitely not that's not what I would expect you to be able to do. And that's not even like a old school big band cutting kind of thing where like John Gross described, like you would sub in for the Stan Kenton band or something, and then they would give you the first alto part and you would have to read it in rehearsal.
Right.
And then if you could nail the reading, then you would be the new alto player.
Right.
It doesn't sound like that, because at the very least, like,
At least you
for
have the
that,
music
it's
to
just like
read.
you have to read it.
Yeah.
And you either read it or not, and the stakes are low enough because it's a rehearsal. But for like the gig, and they're calling tunes that they didn't say that you needed to learn for the gig, I don't know. It seems unreasonable to me. Also, asking anybody to play a Drake song is unreasonable.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I can't remember which song.
Yeah, I'm talking smack about Drizzy on a Canadian music podcast.
Wow. Hot take.
Yeah.
That's
That's
hot
right.
take. Team Kendrick over here for Chris, apparently.
No, I'm actually
You're neither? You're abstaining?
yeah, no, I'm team who was the third guy in it? Who kind of started it?
What? I don't know.
Never mind.
Okay.
Now I look like an idiot.
Yeah, back to charts.
Back to charts. How come you're so good at printing printing charts by hand?
I think it's because I enjoy it. I already talked about this with Will. Okay.
You got to tell me now. You got to tell me.
I'm sure everybody has already listened to my thing with Will.
Now you got to say it to Chris.
Okay, well, I really enjoy doing it. I really enjoy writing music out by hand. I think that it provides the people who are playing the music a line to some way of like finding a personal connection to what it is I'm giving them. I give them something that's carefully crafted and that allows the one who is reading the music to feel a little bit more personally invested.
It's endearing. It's endearing because like it does seem so for lack of a better word, it does seem antiquated to do that.
Sure.
We all learn how to use music notation software in school. It's easy enough to do that, or like I'm getting back on the music notation software train, but for a while I was like very into writing out my tunes and copying them out on my iPad. And that's okay, but obviously it's not perfect looking, and I think that just seeing somebody, like, obviously you see that and you're like, man, they really put in the work.
Well, the other reason is that I started writing tunes before being in university and using Sibelius.
Yeah.
So I started writing music and bringing it to Brad, whom I was taking lessons with in high school. And so that's just like how I learned how to do that. Yeah. And also like looking
his charts are all
also looking
handwritten.
Up to him. He's a proponent of this kind of like distilled approach to writing music, at least for small ensembles where it's just like a lead sheet type thing. Yeah. So that's what I learned how to do, and that's what I considered to be the way. Yeah. That's what my mentor does, so that's what I'm going to do. So I just
like I've kind of gone back and forth on the idea of this single sheet lead sheet style of writing, because for me, I mean, that's how I kind of like conceive of this music.
That's how we learned a lot of the a lot of it. That's
like if you sort of idolize Wayne Shorter's writing, which I mean a lot of us do,
sure,
then that's how we interacted with that music, like coming up, is through these lead sheets.
Well, I mean, not even Wayne Shorter, like not even limited to style. It is, of course, representative of like how we learn this music as being in a jazz studies program,
Yeah.
which is that you like get a real book, which is full of one pagers like this,
Yeah.
and you learn how to play a lead sheet.
Yeah.
So it is like such a common denominator for
Yeah.
the people that we play music with, is that like you get a lead sheet and you know what that means.
Yeah.
You know like how to the limitations and freedom that involves.
Totally, yeah. And that's just how tunes tend to come out for me. But there is part of me where it's just like, man, it would be really cool to have like 5 sections in a tune. Like I listen to certain records where like tunes go to all sorts of different places and they have these really long forms, and I'm like, that's really impressive. Like, to me, it's just like, what, did you just write like 2.5 songs? And you just made it one song?
Yeah, I mean,
do you try to challenge yourself and like go outside of those that boundary?
No, I never challenge myself.
I know you've written music for film.
I just don't want that for me. That happens when I arrange music.
Yeah.
For a larger ensemble.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not so interested in that with a smaller group, and the reason is because I would hope that maybe one day those types of things can happen naturally with the sort of smaller form that is given. So like when I hear a smaller group play these kind of like more extravagant arrangements, I'm not interested in that so much, because I want to hear what's great about a smaller band is that there's fewer parts, so there's more freedom that you can have as improvisers.
Yeah.
So I want to see what can happen with a simple form and where you can extrapolate that in an improvised way rather than an arranged way.
Right. So you're not as interested in expressing yourself through the I guess, how can I say this? Through
the prescribed material?
Yeah.
Well, I am. I totally am. And for me, the balance is trying to find what is the smallest amount of information that I can provide that still creates a distinct composerly identity from myself that then musicians can use as a vehicle to kind of launch off with.
Totally. But so minimalism is a focus for you.
Yes.
Like you don't want to you don't wish to express any complex prescribed material as much as possible. How do you express complexity?
I wouldn't say not. I think it's a matter of finding the balance. It's the balance that's really important to me. I'm like, and I for sure have complexity in my music, it's just that, like, again, like thinking about the bands and the artists that I most admire and strive to be like. It's just that they took material that they could then mold into something that went beyond what that was.
Totally, yeah.
And if there's too much prescribed material, then that's like really challenging to do, and the material kind of like plays the band rather than the other way around.
That's fair. Yeah, and I think, Are you someone who believes that that the compositions come from somewhere else, and that you're sort of like helping it come to fruition as the composer?
In a way, I think I'm to be honest, I'm probably more of an egotistical composer because
Mhm.
I really, I want to play music that I created
Yeah.
and I think is cool that
Yeah.
I made.
Like
So
you want it to
I
be
think
a
I
Ben Frost production.
exactly
Yeah.
I think that I do have maybe a little bit more ego than that sort of narrative of like has something that exists from the universe and you kind of like are a conduit
It
for this.
yeah,
I
it's
think I think though it does come from somewhere else in that the all that I could possibly make is some amalgamation of things that I have already experienced. So I think it does come from somewhere outside of myself in that it is a like conglomerate of my own lived experience, which is
yeah.
kind of outside of me, but at the same time it's funneled through me and what
Yeah.
I do, and so like I do, yeah, I want to feel that sense of like pride and ownership over the things that I create, you know.
Yeah,
um,
totally. And I kind of agree with that. Like I feel like the concept of um yeah, uh I'm a radio transmitter for the universe,
mm,
and just ideas come through me and all I'm doing is acting as a conduit. I think that's a romantic idea,
mm,
but for me at least, that's definitely not the case while I'm writing music.
mm,
I cannot say that that is what's happening when I'm writing music. Not honestly. I can say that I have an idea. An idea has come to me either in my life somehow, um, or I've contrived an idea. Sometimes, it's not all just like this perfectly organic um, thing that happens where it's like, I've listened to enough music and I've ingested enough art in my life and I've lived enough and I've loved enough and I've lost enough, and now I'm producing art that happens as a result of all of that. Like sometimes, like I just have an idea that I'm chipping away at for months,
mm.
and I just am. I can't finish the idea, and I know that there has to be a logical end to it, and maybe I have to just literally just like smash something together until it works. And I think that's equally as valid as any romantic idea that you might have about composition being this, uh, just like this perfect output. And I think, sometimes you really do have to put work into it.
Yeah, for
Right?
sure.
Like you sit down and you're like, I'm just going to finish this song. I'm sick of this not being finished.
Yeah, at some point there is a like a professional approach you need to
Yeah.
take, like where, yeah, think it has to happen.
That's a good way of putting it, professional, because like a lot of people we know who write music professionally, the best stuff that they've ever written is written because they have a deadline.
Yeah,
And they just need it to be done. And it's not this naturalist kind of
ebb and flow.
beautiful output. It's just like, I better finish. It's like anything else that people have to do. It's work that's done with a deadline, and
Yeah,
it's jammed through the door at the very last minute, and it comes out great, and people love it. And they may not even be fully satisfied with it, but it's like, are you ever tempted to rewrite music?
only if there's errors,
What's an error?
like a copying error.
Oh, okay, but like you're never. But like once it's on paper,
Yeah.
error free.
Yeah.
That's how it lives forever.
Mm.
You never think like, I could do better.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, of course, I can do better, and so I'm going to use whatever ideas I have to write a new piece of music. Because why not just do a new one? If it's like, oh, I don't really like how this thing happened in this one tune, I
Yeah.
could do this instead.
Yeah.
Do that instead in a new song.
Yeah, okay. So you think that it fundamentally would change the song?
No, it's just like do something new. That's been done.
Because recently, okay,
It's been
so
over.
I have
It's
a
over.
tune that I
It's
wrote a
been
couple
done.
years ago. I have a tune that I wrote a couple years ago.
Mm.
And recently I rewrote it and I recopied it into MuseScore.
Yeah.
And I decided that I was unsatisfied with a melody in a section of the song. And I rewrote it. And I'm still calling it the same tune. But I decided, like, you know what? This could be better. I've never really been that happy with this melody.
Have you performed it before?
Yeah.
I think you're a coward.
You think I'm a coward? Well,
That's strong.
yeah.
I think that doing so, you're not a coward.
No,
You're
you
not
think
a
I
coward.
am?
I think that this flies in the face exactly of this element of being a professional and getting the job
Uh-huh.
done, because the whole point of that is that you have the deadline, you do the thing, and it exists as good as it could be in that moment, and then it's over, and that's great.
Yeah.
And then you move on and you do something new.
But songs change. Songs change over time.
Why did
Watermelon Man.
what about Watermelon Man?
It changed.
Hmm.
It changed a great deal. This
Yeah,
kind
but
of thing happens all the time.
Was that like a natural?
Why not contrive
Hmm.
it? What's the difference?
Hmm.
I mean, that is. I think there was a point at which Herbie woke up and said, "You know what? What if we did it totally different? And what if we changed a whole bunch of things? And what if we added a whole new thing, like a whole new bass line? Is there a difference there? What's the difference?" I think we're having a Ship of Theseus debate right now.
I mean, you can do whatever you want.
I know. Thanks, Ben.
But yeah, I guess if it is, yeah, I mean that's an interesting point. I don't think I guess there isn't really a difference between like contrived, as you say, and a more kind of like natural progression of change in some piece of music and how you perform it.
Mm-hmm.
Though that does kind of beg the actually maybe there is a difference, because there as I was talking about before, the balance between like
Mhm.
a band performing and the music that you present.
Yep.
To me, there's a kind of like some kind of distinction there. Like ultimately, what you're listening to is the performance of the band of this music, right? And like the composition kind of exists in this like abstract space separate to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So maybe we can consider those to be two definitive things, maybe?
Okay. Keep going.
Yeah. So in this sense, is the change in Watermelon Man, or somehow I want to think of some other example of how music changes over time, or just like how Miles Davis played "My Funny Valentine" or something, or like how whoever plays
Glenn
some
Gould plays the Goldberg variations.
Sure. Yeah. Great. Is this a change in the musician's approach and performance of this composition, or is it like?
No, it's different. I wrote different notes.
So that's why I'm saying maybe it's different than this other.
I mean,
example.
I could say that it's, the song is called Pear Tree Moss, by the way.
Okay.
And it's I feel like I guess my half-assed defense of me rewriting it
Mhm.
and calling it the same thing is that I feel like I wasn't able, the melody as it wasn't adequately communicating the feeling that I wanted to communicate in the way that it was written.
Can I stop you there for a
Sure.
second? Is it just that the Chris in that moment of time considered this melody to not be adequately representing the emotion you had? And maybe the previous Chris that had written this melody did so for some reason or the other, and
The previous Chris is gone. I am the captain now.
okay.
The previous Chris can suck a lemon, as far as I'm concerned.
Sure.
He's a rank amateur.
Right.
But the feeling is real. The feeling I was feeling when I wrote Pear Tree Moss is real.
Yeah.
And that's something that stays with me. Not who I was then, a couple of years ago when I wrote it the first time. And I think sometimes, I'll write a tune and I'll write a melody, and I'll be like, this whole thing is great, except for this. Because for me, I guess sometimes there's a process of me writing a tune where it's just like, let's get this whole thing out now, and then we'll do edits later. And because I guess I have a different, I'll think like, okay, I have the form out here. I have an idea of a melody, and like this melody will work for now, but I could make it juicier.
Sure.
With an edit or two.
Yeah.
And it's not, I'm not talking about like an enormous change. I'm just talking about, the notes are different. The rhythm is different.
Yeah, I understand.
But it's a different flourish in the same direction.
Right.
In the grand scheme of what the form of this tune is.
Yeah, I think I'm also not saying that every piece of music I've written I just like shat it out in 5 minutes and then it went unchanged.
Yeah.
Like I think this idea of criticism is really important to achieve like a high degree of success.
Yeah.
I think for me there's a point where it is done and you decide it's done and then you have to move on. And that decision of when it's done is a really important thing, I think.
Yeah, I think I think you're right that it would be, there would be an issue with me having Pear Tree Moss version 8. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
Right. Like at a certain point, it's just like the song is what it is. Right. Especially, if I were to record it or something like that, it's just like it lives on as it is. People are going to know it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And performing it, I guess is a way of kind of like crystallizing a composition. To me, I think it's part of the process of composition, rehearsing it, performing it, the way that it sounds in performance. When stakes are high in a performance situation, I feel like is a good way of testing a composition, and seeing really how I feel about it in that moment. Because if I could write something and not feel 100% confident about it, and then perform it and be like, actually that does work, and then I won't change it. But I could also be like, yeah, just as I suspected, I didn't feel enough emotion out of that. And my suspicion was correct in that I'm not in love with this, and I could write something better, and still it be this composition because the form of the song I feel like is important, and so because I don't want to have a song again like that idea. I mean, I love these conversations about composition because John Corsered, he said there aren't bad ideas, right? Like on my episode with him, he's just like you can't really have bad ideas,
right? Just like this podcast.
What?
Just like this podcast.
This wasn't a bad idea. No, I did say it was, but I'm taking that back now. And I like that idea. But part of me doesn't believe it because I think there can be bad ideas insofar as like this melody in this section of this song as a result of what came before it, I think doesn't do it justice.
Yeah, music is interesting compared to other art in that this like kind of abstract idea of like a composition is kind of separate from the performance of it, which is maybe the more like kind of crystallized version. So
Yeah.
as opposed to publishing a book, once you publish the book, then it exists.
Mm-hmm.
If you play,
You publish a book after editing it hundreds of times.
yeah, and if you play your tune
Mm-hmm.
at wherever, then you get to play it again
Yeah.
in a different way.
That's the other thing. Yeah. Yeah. It's totally it's part of the art form to repeatedly play your compositions.
Yeah, and offer new perspectives on
Yeah.
it. I do though think I still think once it's done. It's
Right.
a moment in time. I have a binder
I get
full
that, yeah.
of songs that I've written,
Sure.
and would I play 90% of them? No,
Yeah.
but I won't rewrite them because they exist as they are, as a representation of who I was in that time as a 18-year-old and then a 20-year-old and then so on.
Yeah, but what if there's something in there? What if you have one of these tunes and you're just like,
Whatever.
man, if it only had like a little bit of this, or maybe if I changed the chord progression here, or something like that.
Because whatever is there is still a tool that's there for me to use in something else. If like what's there is like A flat major 7 over G,
Right.
the amount of times I've done that
Yeah.
is like I can write another song with that. you
Yeah.
know? If there is something like that, then it'll probably come out somewhere else. This is what I'm saying. Like, if there's something
Yeah.
to improve on, just use that. Make a new one. Just do a new one and make it better. And then the other one exists. It's there. It's in the past. It's, like you said, you're the captain now.
Yeah.
You're the captain of a new ship now.
I think we have different ideas of what a composition is.
Probably.
Because to me, I think a composition is. I think I'm more precious about what a composition is, because to you could just write a new composition. A composition is just part of the. You could just make a new one, and to me, I feel like that's a heavier thing to do for some reason. We're really unpacking this right now. But like, I feel like I have a harder time coming up with the idea of writing a new song.
That might be because I have a really conceited view of my composership.
I think we're both equally conceited in different directions.
Yeah. I mean, if I feel as though I could just write a new song at any time if I really had to. Do you not feel the same?
No, I think I'm coming around to your idea of thinking about it, and I think it does, like, because if you were to come up with a story, like a short story, and you decide to change a story beat or a plot point, or if the butler did it, or if the crazed ex-husband did it, or something like that, like, if you change those things, then that does, like, fundamentally change the story itself, and you may as well just use the idea that you have there in another story. And so I understand what you're saying, and I think for the most part it's probably not that I'm a coward. I think it's that I'm lazy.
Well, the reason why I say you're a coward is you're a coward to not let the past be the past.
But the reason why I say I'm lazy is because I don't want to come up with a new title for a song.
Right.
And because to me, like a tune is like sitting in my brain as like a thing. Like, it's like an organism that like lives in like in the zoo in my brain that I get to go feed.
Yeah, sure.
And like, and so like I wouldn't want to. Yeah, I don't know. There is something about like I feel like I could improve a song almost always. I feel like I could do something to make it a little bit better, to make it something to make me like it more. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. But like you have to let it go at some point. Like there is no point where it's actually done to optimal like that doesn't exist. Like perfection. So at some point you just have to cut
Right.
it off.
You're probably right. And
I'm quite sure I'm right on that one.
Well, it's your opinion. It is your opinion. But I do respect it, and I will think about it. But I'm not going to write a new song. Sorry.
All right.
I've improved it.
Well,
but
maybe every new song we write is just an improvement on the last one. You ever think about
that? Sure.
Because, as I said, like we're really just kind of regurgitating things that we've already experienced and different. So, like, isn't it just like, oh, this is Ben's Ben's next song? It's just a different, mixture of different stylings and influences. And then the next one is just like a different, kind of throw up and mash up of all these things. Are they all really different then?
I don't think it's that that shallow. I don't know. I think there's something to be said about like you've put these things together, these ideas together, and you've made it into I don't want to say something that's like greater than the sum of its parts. I think that's kind of silly. But I do think that once you've made a song, then it has its form and its general contour has its own what am I trying to say? It has its own form that is immutable. And so to make edits within that doesn't necessarily corrupt the form of it. And those edits will be made one way or another anyway as you play the song. Like to me, I have this song playing kind of when I'm thinking about a melody that I don't like, it's sort of playing in my head all the time. I'm sort of performing it for myself constantly. And so to me, I keep thinking, like this, I don't like this melody, but I like the rest of it. The rest of the song and its form and everything I'm really, really into. And I think this little part just doesn't live up to the rest of the tune. And so, yeah, I'm a little bit more precious about the idea of like the song being its own thing. And I want the song to continue to exist, but I also want to change it. And if I change it, I'll love it more. And maybe that's wrong, but it's not a person. It's just the song. It's not alive.
It's true, it isn't alive.
But I'm talking about it like it is. I'm really glad we found something that we just fundamentally disagree about. I didn't think this was going to happen on this episode. I thought we were just going to sit here just nodding and agreeing with each other.
Nodding and making stupid sounds.
Yeah, that's what it was for the first bit, but now we're really in it.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Have you ever written for big band?
Not since university.
Have you ever arranged for like a larger group of some kind?
No. No, actually, well, I mean, what's larger?
I don't know, like a few horns and
I arranged some of my own original tunes for 4 horns and myself when Bellbird came to town.
Oh yeah, sure.
2 years ago. And I arranged it for, sorry, not 4 horns, 3 horns and myself.
What do you think about the difference between arrangement and composition?
Well, ideally you have a composition that acts as the core of the music. Like what I did was I had a couple of compositional ideas, and then I arranged those for horns, but sometimes it also included making up parts to complement the melody that I had already written. And I think I took a couple of different strategies in arrangement for doing that one.
So the key composition that you extrapolated on was a melody.
Yeah. And so I added on to that melody in one way or another to accommodate the other horns.
Was there a form?
Yeah.
I mean, was there a form originally, or once you began orchestrating?
I think at least for a couple of them, there was already a form. Like I arranged a tune that was in lead sheet form already. And then I turned it into a 3-horn arrangement. Why do you ask? What are you thinking?
I'm just probing.
Okay. So to me, I mean, like, I'm kind of I guess I'm thinking of it a bit like arranging, where it's like, I have this main idea, which isn't necessarily a melody, but it could be just the form of a song, or it could be a chord progression, or it could be a bass line plus a melody, and in which case certain things I feel like aren't immune to edits. Because like you can edit an arrangement. You can change the melody a little bit to suit an arrangement.
Mm-hmm.
And the song still maintains its integrity.
Mm-hmm.
So at what point do you feel like a song has changed too much?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yes.
I don't have an answer to
and
that.
And I'm asking you
I
now.
don't have the answer to that. I think that it's a big, blurry, big.
Yeah,
blurry
I think.
line.
Well, I respect your opinion as far as like composition is like just as a practice and as a form of as an art form where it's like once the paint is on the canvas, that's where it is, right?
I mean, to an extent, like I said, I think editing is an important part. I'm just saying, like, there's a line to draw in the sand for you,
Yeah.
as the practicer of this art.
Mm-hmm. This is a riveting podcast.
I think
if you're still listening, thanks
good
for
you.
Thanks for hanging out.
What are your thoughts?
Send me a text, Carson.
Yeah, what do you think about composing? I think I'm
actually really happy to get this deep about it, though, because I actually haven't thought about it this way until you challenged me on it.
Well, great. I think the difference between arranging and composition is an interesting thing to explore.
Yeah.
And I think it helps you get to the bottom of like a kind of pure idea of what it is you're trying to express in the
Mhm.
music.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you consider what is it that I'm doing that's kind of arranging and what is it that I'm doing is the core of this piece of music, then
Yeah.
it really helps you to chip away extraneous stuff that's not helping your cause.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, because you can over-arrange.
and I don't think that there is a clear thing, because you can't say that it is like the form of a song, because, you know, like let's say, for example, we play All the Things You Are,
Mm-hmm.
and we, let's say we add 4 bars somewhere
Yep.
of, you know, like in the bridge,
Yeah.
say. We changed the form, but I would say pretty confidently that we're still playing All the Things You Are.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know,
Well,
it's not necessarily just the form. If we change
Yeah.
like we can adorn the melody, we can change the melody to a certain extent, and it still captures the spirit of the song. We can change like the style in which we play. We can play it in 3/4. We could play it as like a bossa nova or all these things. While still keeping the heart of the song, but at some point, you could do so where you lose the heart of the song.
Yeah,
And
for
it's
sure.
interesting to think about where exactly that is.
Yeah, like that kind of thing. I mean, like with tempo, for sure. Like you can, like the song can almost be completely transformed by tempo.
But then it'd be interesting if we consider tempo to be an easy thing to alter without like losing the spirit. Be interesting then to consider like what piece of music is inseparable from a specific tempo, where like it has to be this one tempo in order to have this spirit. I don't know if that exists, but it'd be interesting to.
Yeah, I feel like there's certain songs that must be played at a certain tempo. A lot of like bop heads, I feel like.
A Little Darlin'.
Sure.
You know that one?
Little Darlin'.
The Count Basie. I can't sing it. I'm not gonna try.
Okay, I'm trying to think of
Just like real slow, bing, ding, ding. Like.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, like that's like especially when that's featured, like the tempo is featured in the composition, then yeah, you lose it. Or imagine playing like Ciora really fast. That'd be cool, actually.
How do you feel about Kurt Rosenwinkel playing Fall as a hip hop groove?
I love it. The first time I heard it, I was like, yo, what? You can do this? Are you for real? What? He went, go, 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 go. Now we're just humming now I'm beatboxing. We're at the part of the podcast where I'm beatboxing. We're back to silly mode. We got too serious. You called me a coward and I got really defensive. We got too silly. Now we're back to silly mode. I think it's great.
Yeah?
I think it's cool.
Yeah? Why not?
Are you of a different? Why not? If that's not a ringing endorsement, I don't know what is.
It's not my favorite.
No. But it's not, I don't know. He's playing the tune really cool. He's playing the melody and the chords really great.
Yeah, sure. He's playing the melody and the chords really great. That has nothing to do with the hip hop groove.
I guess so. I don't know what's wrong with the hip hop groove. It's where you put the backbeat.
It's just not my favorite.
Okay. So why did you ask me? So you could say that it wasn't your favorite? I'm running the podcast here, buddy. Yeah, I think once we reach once we reach the point where you have to ask me about Kurt Rosenwinkel, I think we're nearing the end of the episode.
Oh, this is the end.
It may be.
It is, yeah. Much like your first year combo class when somebody throws out that they want to play Fall in a hip hop.
That's different. That's not first year combo. He's not playing first year combo.
Right. I guess he did it first, and that's why the combos want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is kind of like that. Yeah. I mean, like, I'm guilty. I'm guilty of taking a Wayne Shorter tune and playing it in a somewhat perverse way. But I'm not.
How perverse? In what ways? Like you did it in a different key?
I think I remember. No, I remember doing this, and I remember Brad Turner was the combo teacher, and I think he was being very nice.
Sure.
But I think he was unimpressed, which was my favorite Wayne Shorter tune, which I still play to this day, is Deluge.
Yeah.
And we played it, and I decided to play it. I'm sorry to admit this. I played it with like a reggae skank on 2 and 4. So, yeah, and
that is perverse.
it's perverse. It's perverse. There isn't a better word for it. But at the time, I was just like, "This sounds so cool. This sounds so cool." I was like 20 years old. I was like, "I can't believe I came up with this." I'm the first person.
You
to make
sure
a
did.
Wayne
You
Shorter
came
tune
up with
better.
it, like we were talking about about ego.
Yeah,
Related to your creative process.
Yeah.
You did that.
yeah, and
You owned it.
Yeah, I do own it. I own that I did that. And it's a good thing that it was just combo class.
Did Brad tell you not to do that anymore?
No, he was saying I should have done the reggae skank better. he was like, I think that he's probably right. Like, cause I didn't have a lot of experience playing reggae up to that point. I was just playing short triads on 2 and 4.
He also has kind of the Mamba mentality of doing
Second Mamba mentality drop of the pod.
Yeah, just do it better.
That's right.
Do it better, coward.
It's like, if you had done it better, it would have been good.
Did he call you a coward?
Not to my face.
I wonder if he's ever called me a coward to my face or not. I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so.
That's good.
Maybe.
Well, I think we're going to take the coward's way out and end the podcast here. I appreciate you doing the episode on short notice.
We didn't reach hour 3 yet, though.
I know. We'll have to reach hour 3 on a separate episode.
Okay.
Because I want to eat dinner. It was sunny outside when we started doing the episode, and now it's dark.
Now it's dark.
No, but seriously, thanks for doing this. I'm glad we did an episode.
Do we get to do like a shout out, like a plug at the?
Yeah, I mean, like, if you want to plug something, I could like do that in like the intro or the outro. But if you want to do a plug right now, please, by all means.
Yeah, I just want to plug. Go onto, if you're watching this, go onto YouTube and.
No one's watching it; they're listening to it. Sorry, go on.
I just want to plug the YouTube video of Michael Brecker playing Softly as in a Morning Sunrise with Christian McBride. And
okay.
Watched that the other night for the 100th millionth time.
Oh.
That's just so good.
Nice. I thought you were going to say Michael Brecker playing for like the Bill Clinton inauguration.
No.
That's a good video, though.
Yeah, you know the one, right?
The one of the Bill Clinton inauguration?
No. This Softly.
No, I don't know this video you're talking about.
You got it, Chris.
Softly.
You know, I once.
Do you think he changes the melody?
Yeah, he changed. He fucking. Yeah, it's Michael Brecker playing.
Oh.
Yes, it's like it's nuts. He changed it. He adds ornamentation to the melody. Does it stay true to the heart of the song? I would say so.
Wow, so he changed it. Why didn't you just write a new song then?
You know that I had I made a zine once of YouTube
comments.
YouTube comments.
Yeah, I have one of them.
Yeah. Maybe I should bring that back.
Yeah.
If you're watching this podcast and you want to see my
Ask for a zine. Message Ben right now and ask for a zine.
It's pretty. I think it's pretty. It's a good job.
It's a really good zine.
It's
YouTube comments. It's selected YouTube comments on jazz music videos.
You need to be of a certain era, I think, to get the references
Sure.
of the videos, maybe. But
for the most part, like you just got some great selections.
Some good ones. Yeah. Anyway, I'll have to find that file and make some more.
Yeah. Shout out to your zine that you sent me.
Yeah, I gave one to Natasha.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What was her verdict on that?
She was like, "This is so stupid."
Yeah. You know, that's exactly what she was saying. She would just completely not find the humor in it at all for no reason.
Yeah.
This is stupid. Why would you do this?
I think one of the greatest compliments that anyone ever gave me.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry that I'm not letting you end this. This is the last thing I want to say.
Yeah.
One of the greatest compliments anyone ever gave me is Natasha said to me, "Ben, you don't take anything seriously in life except playing music." And
Wow.
I find that really admirable.
That's amazing. That's an amazing thing for anyone to say.
Mm.
It is a backhanded compliment.
Yeah, kind of, I guess.
But
Yeah.
I think that's an amazing comment from her because she was kind of the same way.
Took music very seriously.
Yeah, extremely seriously. That's a great place to end the episode.
Shout out Natasha.
Shout out. Yeah. Thanks for taking this podcast seriously, at least for a couple minutes in the middle there. Okay, bye. Thanks again to Ben for returning to the podcast. You can check out his album Pixies on Bandcamp, and we'll be playing a handful of shows together in different groups in the next month or so. You can see us playing duo at Is That French, which we mentioned in the episode, on Thursday, March 27th at 6 p.m. Trio with Miles Wong on drums at the Unit Pit Society for Art and Critical Awareness on Friday, March 28th at 6 p.m. And in April, we'll be playing with the Carl Silvera group at Tyrant Studios on Friday, the 18th of April. Make sure to come see us play at any of those shows. If you can't remember all those dates, don't worry. You can just head over to the rhythmchanges.ca website and click on the gig list at the top bar to get a comprehensive rundown of all the upcoming jazz and jazz-related shows in this city. And while you're at it, subscribe to the free weekly newsletter to get even more info and writing related to the scene. Did I mention it's free? Thanks as always for listening, and I'll see you on the next one.